Wi-Fi? That might help. That's all good. You guys, yeah, that's. Yeah, something like that. Who? The name does sound vaguely familiar. Nice. Okay, so you're still sitting in the audio setup, right? Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can hear myself because my headphones didn't work. That's okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, other people pulled them out there. Okay. Okay, so looks like my microphone level is good. Give me a level.
Check, check.
Yeah, okay. So what are we talking about?
All right, so before we get started,
Yeah.
I just saw a really funny thing on Instagram,
Okay.
and I wanted to get your take on it. So
Sure.
it's a big thing in the news this week. It's Hunter Biden, Joe Biden getting caught because his son was basically like using the power of the U.S. government and the name of the U.S. government and his dad being the vice president to get a job in the Ukraine, making absurd amounts of money, like $50,000 a month. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine what it would be like to live on $50,000 a month? Like, I don't make that in a year. Like what would you like? I wouldn't know what to do with that at that point. You know what I mean?
You know what to do with the first 5 million. Yeah.
Yeah, like obviously I have
have
plans.
ideas.
I can figure out what to do with it if I made that much money a year. But
For sure.
but one of the really funny things that is coming from this is I didn't vote for Trump, but one of my favorite things about him is that he is a master level troll.
He is a troll. No doubt about it. Master level troll.
And he just posted this really funny thing
Okay.
on Instagram. So it's
I've seen it.
have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
Oh.
The Nickelback. Yeah.
It's
the Nickelback.
hilarious.
It is. It's only a minute long, but yeah, the picture. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So for those of you who are listening and can't see
we
it,
should definitely make a link to that.
right? We'll put a link in the show notes. And for those who can't see it, basically somebody asked Joe Biden, "Hey, did you ever speak to your son about his Ukraine overseas deals?"
Yeah.
And
No.
he's like, "No." And then it shows,
A picture with the Ukrainian exec.
yeah, pictures of Ukrainian executive, and then that old meme of Nickelback holding up the photograph. And that's like,
Yeah.
look at this photograph.
Yeah, apparently Nickelback's not very happy about that.
Oh man,
Well,
that's too bad.
it's a song. It's public
Well,
domain now.
and
Well,
that
not really
meme is
public
just
domain,
like-
but
That meme's just been so used. It's such a funny meme though, because
it's a good meme.
yeah.
Okay, so we were doing that, but so I'll begin reporting for our show.
Yeah, let's go ahead and start the show.
Okay, put that. Start the recorders in here. Okay, and hello everyone. We are John and Will, and this is the John and Will Show, episode 2 for October 2nd, 2019, and we're recording. So, what are we talking about today, John?
Oh man, we are talking about whatever you want to talk about. You had articles that you pulled up, right?
Yes,
So,
I did. I have some articles here. And this one, actually, my mom found to me. It was I have her art magazine, Art Bulletin. So, she's unfortunately that old now, so she uses the Art magazine. I'm not a big fan of art myself, but it is what it is. Yeah, this article is in the Your Money page. It's the real deal at outlet malls. Basically, 5 items to think about in only outlet malls. Don't judge the deal by the original prices. Do watch for quality red flags. Do time it right. Don't miss out on extra discounts, and do ask about return policy. Pretty good information, and I did not know. And I went to the lower right corner here, the number of outlet malls and the number of conventional shopping malls. And apparently outlet malls are surging I've
Really?
known for some time that, conventional malls have been going down in terms of popularity and whatnot. But I didn't know outlet malls were so much outlet
So when you say outlet malls,
Yeah.
can you explain the difference between a conventional shopping mall and an outlet mall?
Outlet malls are considered places that have stores that are specifically tuned to, getting rid of products, usually surplus products, if you will. And places, these are the businesses like Gap, like Cabela's, not Cabela's, but a Levi's is a big one.
Okay.
They list four, like 10 of them there. Well, let's be able to big outlet mall in Gilroy. That we like to
Okay.
go to.
So when you think outlet malls, you think like the outlets in Gilroy or like Turlock has one.
Yeah, Turlock has a few.
Okay.
There's Trevery has a big outlet mall section. Places that are they're big name brands, but they're lower price, exclusively lower price than the normal stores.
Okay.
Than their respective regular shopping stores. I personally, I don't really see a difference between the two of them. Because
Right.
really, outlets in your one, I say, just because it says outlet, what makes it special?
Well, yeah, like I'm thinking the Gilroy outlets, like it feels like a conventional shopping mall. You know what I mean? Like
It's a strip mall.
it's a strip mall. So like it's instead of being an indoor mall like say Manchester,
Yeah, right.
it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Bigger.
that's why your question is quite on the nose because, again, to the average person, the difference between a conventional mall and an outlet mall, conventional mall, you think of indoors, it has an indoor space. So in order to get to the businesses, you have to go inside, and so you're purchasing the weather, whereas an outlet mall is a strip mall. And so why is that any different than any other strip mall in the country?
Right.
Again, prices, I don't think so. I've on occasion wondered if maybe the prices at an outlet mall are higher than the same business in a conventional mall or a different strip mall. I haven't done my research on that, but according to that article, the company of the groups, the nonprofit groups that did some research, they found that on occasion prices are a little higher at outlet malls.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is like one, obviously this must be an AARP article because millennials don't shop at malls.
No.
Being a
unfortunately,
millennial myself, I avoid malls if I can. And like if I'm going for a deal and like the best bang for my buck,
Mhm.
I'm definitely gonna shop online.
Yeah, right.
You know,
That's what everyone does.
yeah. Amazon,
Mhm.
Walmart,
Others,
Really?
Cabela's and Bass Pro, if they're merged.
what's funny is any place that has a outlet mall store, you can probably get a better deal, or at least the same deal
Mhm.
online.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the items in the article. It does suggest that when you see a price, pull up the phone and check the Walmart,
Yeah.
or same product at various stores, Amazon, Walmart, wherever. I'm just naming the biggest names, obviously, but the other ones I think of off the top of my head, but there
Right.
are smaller companies that can offer, great deals. They may not offer free shipping, all right, for free shipping. But, you should always compare.
Yeah.
The biggest, most important thing you can do for pricing, if you want the best deal, compare.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course, I pay for the Amazon Prime, so
Oh, thank you.
You know.
I'm a long time subscriber to Amazon Prime, yeah. One day, one goodness, now, I
It's
live
so good.
an hour away from Fresno, so I don't get one day. Not yet, maybe someday. There's drones over my head, and UPS got the drone contract now.
did they really?
Well, the FAA has granted the UPS, United Parcel Service,
Okay.
Big Brown, if you will, permission to fly drones only to hospitals to start.
Huh.
But they are the first major commercial shipping company to get FAA approval, and this was announced just yesterday, to go fly drones or package delivery. Again, not just the hospitals, but it makes sense, I suppose. If we want you to deliver, we need to deliver fast.
So you're saying UPS, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Big brown, yeah, big
Gotcha.
brown truck. Yeah. We went to this big brown truck guys, remember those days?
Mhm.
NASCAR connection, the German bar. Oh, no, what's the German? Was it, oh, who was it? Mark Martin. Mark Martin. Yeah, it was Mark Martin was, no, whoever it was. Yeah, Mark Martin, I think it was was driving the UPS, sponsored car.
Okay.
And, UPS would be high-end commercials, with, to encourage people to write in and say, we want, we want Mark to drive the truck, on the track.
Right,
Right.
right.
Not big.
Totally same. Come on.
Okay, totally same.
Totally same.
That big, this brown box truck, the video all the way down the cars. I would love to do that. I mean, sometimes
I'm sure you could write. Like, it can be done. Like, what's the problem?
NASCAR history. And, I was, number two car back in '91. I was there about and on there. And yeah, so I mean that's what I remember. And obviously Dale Earnhardt Senior and Sonny Marlin and Chase and that's Bill Elliott, Chase's the current star. And all the big names of the '90s. That's when I watched NASCAR. I mean, I watched the Daytona 500 still, but again, it's the Daytona 500. That's the only race I watch.
Okay.
Because, again, I don't like how it's changed. You know, the point system is crap. The the way it's split up into three sections now. So one map each, or whatever it is. Or I think it's divided into well, it depends on the number of maps for that race. But three stages. Why? Why? That doesn't race. I mean, don't stop and stage one, stage no, just kind of alternate. I mean, just flat out race. And whoever goes to the next line first, goes on six, or don't have these stages. I mean, sure, you had points back in the day too, but the point system actually makes sense back then.
Right.
And I don't know. But
Yeah, I know nothing about this, so
Sorry,
yeah.
Talk about competition,
Oh, it's all good.
Darn it.
I can tell you I can tell you that I hate point systems that are arbitrary.
Yeah.
I once made a flow chart. Yeah.
There's a topic.
Yeah, I once made a flow chart between what a sport was and what sport isn't.
Okay.
And racing was one of those things that was a very it was in an ambiguous territory on said flow chart.
Right.
So for it to be a sport, it has to have an objective winner, and it can't be up to the subjective rules of referees or judges. So I don't know how the point system works, but if the point system is as simple as, hey, you get first, you get the most points, you get the second most points, you come in third, you get the third most points, then it can still be a sport, right?
Yeah, no, right.
Whereas cheerleading, which was based off of the judge's opinion of how people did, that was not a sport, just like gymnastics is not a sport. Well, gymnasts and people who do gymnastics are peak top-level athletes. What they do is not a sport, in my opinion.
You're right.
Yeah, because you get people do the exact same routine, but one person smiles and it's cute, and the other person doesn't smile and it's ugly, and they would get less points for some reason. Then I'm like, they're like, hey, unless smiling is part of the objective criteria of the sport, that's kind of silly.
I've never understood how many points
Whoa. Tennis is a very, I played tennis for years. Tennis is a very simple sport.
I never understood love,
Uh-huh.
0 to 10, five?
I think it depends, actually. So,
Like 10, 20, 15. 15. 15, 30, 40. I don't know.
yeah.
And
So-
I've read about it, but it still makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you can simplify it in thinking of love is zero. So
Yeah,
it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Right.
win.
Right, and
Right.
a minimum of 2 points.
And you have to have 2 points.
A minimum of
Yeah.
2 points between or above to be the victor of that
Right.
or that round or whatever it's called.
Yeah. So you play a game, and then those games, depending on what you're playing, they make up a set, and then you win the right number of sets, and you win that match. So that's why they say game, set, match.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
So yeah, I can see how it's confusing. Like, each game, like, why? What?
Yeah.
15? How did you get to 15 so fast? You had not made 15 points. You know what I mean?
I want to look at them. I want them to make it. The U.S. Open.
Right.
If it's happening, or I can be watching the point is, I can watch the papers, and our Williams sisters, or upcoming cross, or the other many that are coming in the sport nowadays. But that one is a big thing nowadays. I watch it, and I watch it hit the ball, and I score it, and the umpires, saying how, or Brazilian, but it looks funny, it looks nasty.
Right.
And I mean, if you look at the tennis before, the tennis, what is
The court?
Court.
This court? Yeah.
Margaret Court, right. The line. What does each line mean? I mean,
Yeah.
this section means you're out, that section is you're in, or something.
Yes.
I'm not confused by it all.
Yeah. So, hold on. My nose is like freaking out right now. Okay. I just don't like sniffle into the microphone. That weird sound. So no, I hate that on the podcast. You hear this. Yeah. So I'm like,
I wish I had the one I have with you.
oh, well, that would have been nice to know. No.
I don't know if it's top button.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about elaborate one, but top button.
No, that's fine. I will just sneak away from the mic, and if it looks like I'm leaning really far away from the mic, for those who are watching,
Yeah.
you know,
We're
it's,
streaming live on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought why not? Let's make it more fun. Apparently we have one person watching. Thank you, you one person, whoever you are. So the scoring system isn't that complicated. Like, it is because they use stupid numbers.
Yeah.
But
15, 30,
you know, if I remember correctly, it's a game that stems from people who are used to making up stupid numbers,
I
right?
think that's what it is. Yeah.
People in that same area use the English system instead of the metric system initially. So, you know, they like to be loose with the numbers. Hey, this is a foot. Why is it a foot? I don't know, because it's the length of someone's foot, right?
Right.
Why is this an inch? What is an inch? You know, it's 1/12 of a foot. What? Like, who thought of that system?
My foot is this length. Your foot is that length.
Right,
Yeah. Who's supposed to do all?
right. So I'll explain to you the scoring system real quick. So 15, so it goes love, which is 0, 15, which is 1, 30, which is 2, 40, 3, and then the next point would win.
And then you gain points. Yeah.
Yes.
When you gain, but you have to get it.
You have to be up by 2. So,
Then you get the advantage.
Yes.
Somebody gets the advantage.
Yeah. So, and then it goes, you know, then if you're doing advantage, save. Yeah. So it's a fun sport. And the lines, yeah, the lines aren't really that confusing. You can think of the 2 sidelines. So basically, you have your initial court. You've got 2 small squares in the front, 1 big square in the back, right? That's your court. Okay. Then if you're playing with doubles, they add those 2 sidelines to make it a little bit wider.
Oh,
Right. That shouldn't be included in.
Well, I'm thinking that the court is just single. So you have the 2 long lines, 2 long areas on the side, and then we have the 2 squares, or rectangles, where they are in the front, they're nearest to that, and then in the back, where you put your penny on the side, the one big long one.
Right. Right.
And,
So let me show you a cool picture that makes it.
yeah, the court also.
Okay. So the 2 boxes in the front, the box in the back, are the 2 wings on the side?
And the 2 long rectangles have each other's thin length.
Yes. So those long rectangles should only come to play when you're playing doubles.
Oh, okay, but they're there just because
Right. So like, so you can in normal court you can play singles or doubles on it, right? So in a singles match, it goes just that. Right. It's just the inner line. So no, it's a fun sport. I mean,
I'm sure.
it's super challenging. One of the sports that I consider to be. Yeah.
That was pretty good on the Wii Sports.
Nice.
Just playing against the computer, that's nothing. And now again, I'll play against the computer on occasion, and my even though I was winning the game, my rank really goes down. I'm like, what the frick? Computer?
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about. That's big.
Yeah, I could win by a lot of points, and it's still my ranking down, 10 points or 20 points. Like, okay, I just defeated the first computer. And you tell me I lost points? Really? My ranking was down?
Huh.
Really? Really? Thank you, Wii. Thank you, Nintendo. Yeah, but that's another topic.
That's funny.
That's awesome. What do we do?
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of rambling, I was going to ask you. So you actually you were here for my super random and not super well put together podcast a minute ago. Um, what were your thoughts? Regarding any of the topics strike you as interesting? Like, hey, like, questions where do you think you are? Anything I brought up?
Well,
Oh,
I think we're getting away from politics right now. That's
sure, we can avoid the politics question. That's fine.
Oh, I'm going on for hours on politics.
No, let's avoid the
I love
politics.
politics.
Did I talk about politics?
What part?
Did I talk about politics during my podcast? I thought I avoided politics.
No, not I heard your podcast.
Yeah.
But you don't hear about it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to keep it good news and positive stuff.
And there's always plenty of CDs out there. Hard to find sometimes.
So I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, but in the old days of news, that's what sells paper. Good news, doesn't mean it isn't the company that is trying to sell you good news. It's only just like a week, but it's only good news on the paper and on people just something that get people up and buy that. And human nature, we want to see the negative, even though we talk like we want people to talk.
Right.
You know, we go around saying, well, here's the good news. Well, we gave it to you. You didn't buy it. But I want you to news.
Right.
Well, then buy it. But I need to know the news. I don't know.
Right.
It's a, we humans are trained.
One story. I made so I'm doing this thing called Inktober. So
It has nothing to do with the tattoos, right?
no, nothing to do with tattoos. Right. Right. No. So I don't know who started it or when it started, but basically, some Instagram people thought, hey, we should just do. I think it probably started with actual ink drawings, but there's yeah. But there's a thing every October they put out a prompts, like several people put out prompts, and you follow the prompts and you do like one drawing a day for October. So today's prompt, the prompt that I had, I think I got it from using the name Lina app, the drawing app. It's a cool drawing app. I don't. Yeah, I didn't actually buy the app because it was $5 and I had like 3 other drawing apps, and so I figured I've got enough drawing apps. I pay for these every one. I don't need to buy them. But this one was mindless. Was the prompt. So yesterday's was a ring, so I drew a ring. But here I'll show you the this one for this month. So mindless. Yeah. Well, because they're mindless, get it? Yeah. Sorry if I'm a little stuffed up. So mindless, right? So it's funny. There's 2 groups of mindless people. Some wearing blue, some wearing red. Yeah, and then there's 2 girls with their brains about to fall out as they're staring at phones. I got a color in the phones. I realized I messed up that design. But I'll go back and fix it. But it's something that.
I think for a while, why controversy everything it was based on some of the 2 that they do, some of the 2 different things. And we can some of those people that in the American version, the Japanese version.
So the one with the different carrots. Okay.
Yeah. Brian. I'll try to get it a bit off, but we did at first. Yeah, and Mario, the 4 of them, Mario, Luigi, Princess, Toad, moving out the war.
Yeah.
Dude, I have to do
Nice.
yeah, but anyway, so back in school back in the elementary days, I was a teacher who get drawing in the world, similar to the one I saw in Marvel 2, cherries and traditional knuckles. They jump around. And when I didn't think of how to draw it. I'm long gone. They're stuck in my head now. All out. Probably some songs today in my life, but that's one of my closest things. I do a lot of, submarine shapes.
Okay.
Draw. That's kind of what I draw. I was never an expert drawer. And three-dimensional, like
All that's a skill. All that's a skill that takes practice. I mean, some people are more naturally skilled at it than others, but it's a skill that takes practice.
We were always, podcast. We had a podcast here on the artist. I don't know, but I just never got to.
Hey, never too late to start.
Yay! Yep.
Anyways, going back to the drawing I was talking about.
Uh-huh.
So, there's a funny thing going around where the day and age we live in is very much into identity politics, and everyone's very much into my side's right, your side is wrong.
Yeah.
And the real dangers of both sides in America are we're consuming media, we're consuming our views from our phones, right? So a lot of people live in an echo chamber, it's called, yeah.
Yeah.
So an echo chamber, yeah. So what do you listen to? I listen to Fox, and I listen to everyone who agrees with Fox, people who think of me right, and I don't listen to CNN because CNN's fake news.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have people who are on the flip side who are like, CNN is, yeah, CNN and MSNBC are the only people we trust, and Fox News is totally wrong always, and always fake news. Right, so it's either or, and the real scary thing is that we live in a world where both sides are missing huge swaths of the truth, and I think feeding into some mindlessness, like, people on both sides are prone to fall into the idea of being PC without even noticing it, like, so they're drawing at people without their brains in it, and then, and the two girls that were looking at the phones, their brains were swelling and about to fall out of their heads. Because we live in that kind of world where accepting the binary is part of the problem. A comedian that follows says, if a random black guy in a trench coat offers you 2 pills and says, better blue, what you say is, I don't take pills from random black men in trench coats. Not really.
I don't feel like you.
Right. Right, you could argue he made the wrong choice by choosing either one because he to accept either pill is to assume that the person offering you the pills is actually offering you a good pill. And in the world, we live in, both Fox, both the Republican Party, both the Democratic Party, either one, or Fox and CNN or MSNBC, all of them have a vested interest in keeping people in a state of fear and in a state of denial of facts. And so the real problem is we're living in a binary system where if you accept the binary, you've already failed. To a degree.
Right.
Obviously, I tend to lean more to the right. I think it's a little bit more closer to this than that, but that's because we don't have a Christian nationalist party that I can say I'm part of in America. So, no, thank you. I do not wish to start a political party. I don't want to run a political party. I think in a perfect world, government would stay out of my way, and the only time I'd have to deal with government and stuff is when the town got the government to take more life. We need a new road over there. We need a bridge over here. Hey guys, can you offer me some money to build this bridge? Or hey, we have a random problem that we're all facing, or half of us at least are facing. How can we come together to solve this? You know what I mean? For the most part, I don't want to build a government. I don't want the government to build me. And I think if America ran the way the founders intended to, we'd see a lot less government, and we wouldn't really care who our political officials are nearly as much. Like, we really shouldn't. There really shouldn't be that much of a drive to have your guy in office. If the executives are doing their jobs right, I think, and the legislators are doing their jobs right, He's like, all right, fine. We can replace him every 2 years, and who cares? Your job is to make laws, but you don't need to make new laws. Just stop making stupid laws. And you can have this done. Or, hey, protect the country and enforce the laws on the books. That's the only thing you have to do. That's it. So unless somebody attacks us, don't do anything in the military. Unless unless somebody is saying, hey, we're gonna shoot missiles at America. I don't want to hear about military stuff, you know. And I mean, to take it to the extreme, I don't think we should be policing anyone else outside of America because it's not our responsibility. Like, oh, somebody in the Middle East did something against someone else in the Middle East. Do we own anything in the Middle East? Do we live there? No? Are there Americans there? No? Back on out. You know? People say, but you gotta protect Israel. I'm like, do you? Do you?
We've given them over the years, I don't know what the number is, but some massive billions and billions worth.
Well, you know what it is, right?
What number?
Oh, I don't know the number. I mean, you know why that is?
Oh, why it is?
So if you look at the sheer number of senators
Oh,
that have dual citizenship in
yeah.
Israel, I think that's your problem. Like, you know, and it's on both sides of the aisle, right? But
That's true. You see that really doesn't matter. Does not matter about party. It is, well, we don't have a two-party system. We have one party. And there's the money part.
Yeah.
Money and power.
money and power. And the problem for me is that we don't separate these two. We don't think through, wait, how can somebody serve two masters? How can you be loyal to protecting America's interests if you also have citizenship somewhere else? I'm like, hey, if you're going to be leading America in this capacity, you really probably should have to have only an American citizenship. Yeah, but you know, I don't get to make the rules. We just live in the country, and
Yeah, and actually, there's, you know, talking about Israel coming up about how they operate it, but, and why America should not now, I don't know, but, the 1967 US history that happened during the Korean War. Israel, again, I wasn't there, obviously, but according to the stories that I've read, and in fact, according to various sites online, such as Real Clear History and other sites, Israel purposely attacked our ships and killed many of our men.
really,
This is from Iraq. Iraq.com. It was. Um, 34 American soldiers, sailors, were killed in the Israeli attack, and many others were wounded. And this was, during the Six-Day War, this liberty bombed by an Israeli fighter jet and torpedo boat on June 8, 1967, in the eastern Mediterranean, and has been overlooked ever since. Israel supposedly apologized, and they paid compensation, but that does not give them, carte blanche to be our,
Right.
just, now. I mean, just because they apologize means that they paid money. And paid money, if you ask me, that means that they obviously ended up to it. They were guilty of being the instigator. I mean, hell, it's killing 34 Americans. That's an act of war, last I checked.
yeah,
So why did we let it go? And obviously, it's because we know why we let it go, because it's good for y'all. But it's just, there's so many questions. And again, that's just one example. There have been other events over the years that make it questionable to call Israel our only friend in that area part of the world. You know, and are there good Israelis? Absolutely. There are good Arabs too.
Yeah.
And there are bad Israelis, bad Arabs. I mean, I'm not condemning or condoning the entire classification of people. I'm
Oh,
just saying,
same.
you know, the government. I mean, more what I'm saying, the government itself, the government, and it's always the government, not the people. I'm speaking mostly, you know, when I say a country, I'm talking about the government of that country.
Right.
Because governments are inherently bad. Governments, you know, they evolve. Now they may start, you know, our country, you know, we started off as a wonderful government, but unfortunately, bad people get involved. Bad people will, you know, they have great ideas, but they evolve into overwhelming, you know, bad ideas over time. I mean, and so our government even, you know, when they love our country, I do love my country, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, I'm saying I love my country, but I hate my government. And that's an okay thing. It's okay to hate your government. It's okay to love your country and hate your government, because you should never be willing to settle for a government that you have. You should be willing, you should be, you know, ready to say, you know what, things can be better. Our government can be better. We can improve.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with a lot of that. I think, I don't know that I would say governments are inherently evil,
Okay.
but I would say people are naturally evil.
Yes.
And governments are made up of people.
Yeah. No,
And
that's
so they are, you know, what's the idea? Evil corrupts, right?
Yeah.
Or power corrupts.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, power corrupts.
And absolute power corrupts, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Phrase. That's the quote by was it Lord Byron.
Might have been.
Somebody of the
But that's one of those things where, you know, you're right. You really shouldn't trust. We should have a healthy distrust of whatever government we have.
Well, absolutely.
You know?
This trust is required to keep government healthy.
Yeah, like which government was it? I was talking about something the other day with someone. I was trying to point out to a friend that, you know, we really shouldn't trust our government, and anytime somebody's trying to get us to go to a war, we should really think twice about it, because, you know, it's like, it's not like our government wouldn't, you know, do a false flag. And they were like, what are you talking about? I was like, have you never heard of any of the false flags we pull on our own people? The easy one to point out is the Gulf of Tonkin.
Oh yeah.
Where we blew up one of our own ships.
Vietnam.
Right.
Vietnam War.
And
Yeah.
so, you know,
That was,
details on it.
well, I mean, this we have it here, I think, but what was it,
1964.
64, so that was before,
Right.
before this.
So I think it helps get us into Vietnam.
Yeah, it did, actually it did, because that was used as a excuse to get it into. Yeah, and it is well noted now, many years later, that it was a false flag.
Right.
And that our government did try to outright power.
Right.
Local companies, and it is the one that our government hasn't been willing to own up.
Well, see, that's the funny thing, right? So I know, like on 9/11, I posted something. I think what is this? I posted a meme that this guy made by Jim Bob. He's an artist who makes funny cartoons. He posted a picture of this guy falling out of it. The cartoon was funny. The event was very sad.
I understand.
But the cartoon was funny because it had this guy falling out of one of the buildings.
Yeah.
And he has this little thought bubble over his head.
Yeah.
And it says, some people did something.
Yeah, regarding to what Ilhan Omar,
Right.
One of our current representatives said.
Right. And so it triggered several people.
Mm-hmm. It did.
Triggered you, I'm very sorry. But it triggered also
I'm not triggered.
try not to. Life is much better.
Sorry, I should be doing that.
Yeah. The funny thing is, so people were like, "Oh, you don't think like 9/11 happened the way it said? Like you think it was an inside job? You think Bush did it?" I'm like, I don't think Bush did it.
Mm-hmm.
What I realize is I don't think it's safe to say we know the full story.
I was fully agree.
There's enough stuff around it to make you go, wait a minute. Why is this, like, there's a reporter, I think, on the BBC explaining how Tower 7 fell. But while she's
7.
yeah, so while she's explaining it, the tower's right behind her. So she's reading a cue card that somebody wrote for her that says, "Oh yeah, Tower 7 already fell because of blah 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 blah."
Before it,
But it's before it fell,
yeah,
and so you can see it. You can see it in the background though as she's talking, and so everyone's like, "Wait a minute, what?" And I'm like, "That's one of those things where you're like, this is the kind of thing." The podcaster I follow had a great, I think a great review of it. Tim Owen, but 20 days out. You gotta let him know. Owen Benjamin.
Owen Benjamin, okay.
Yeah. So he had this talk where he's like, "Hey, look, he used to be on the show Punk'd." And he's like, "This is like everything about this looks just like what a set would have looked like on Punk." Sure, the event itself did happen, right? But enough of it around it is staged, and there's enough production into it to make you go, something about this isn't what they're trying to sell you. Like within minutes, and maybe not, within like hours, they're like, "Oh yeah, there's only one terrorist organization that could have done this. It was for sure Osama bin Laden." And it's like,
and most of us had never heard of the name Osama bin Laden.
Right.
It was like, I mean, maybe, I remember Clinton had mentioned like once or twice during his term, but again, it was not a major factor. It was not a major name in the American consciousness,
Right.
much less the global consciousness. On that day, on 9/11.
right. And I think that they could tell this person for sure did it.
Oh yeah, on that
Like the same day. Like no law enforcement agency was able to make decisions that fast.
That's the thing. 9/11, right? Multiple buildings, taken down. 4 airplanes, minimum involved. Mostly, something like that would take a week, months, if not more.
Right.
To really digest and really figure out if FBI would have to, would wait on declaring a suspect.
Right.
And for that event, typically.
Yep.
But because this was that type of event, a false flag event, we know who did it right away.
Right.
Automatically, it's boom, it's person A.
Right.
I mean, that made no sense.
Right.
When you knew who it was. No, that's not how investigations, that's what I'm for. Investigations work. Investigations are slow and tedious because you want to gather the evidence, you want to research, you want to be very careful about what you say, about how you say it. Right. You don't want to, finger the wrong person at the wrong time and make them, affect their suspect.
Right, for sure. And I mean, there's countless other things that are so weird. Like, for example, the most secure building in the world, the Pentagon.
Oh,
They just let a plane fly into it. Like,
that wasn't plane, but that was a missile. Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
And there's only one video, and it's just not even video, it's just
Right.
snippet of a video. Yet there are other videos, other cameras all around, but they're all, what happened to those other videos? The cameras weren't working that day or something.
Yeah, just like your friends. Right.
And it's one, it's not this non-video, but it's like 4 snaps. That's the one I'm referring to is obviously the one we all seen from the gas station, pointing at the equipment on there with the, you don't see an actual plane crashing into the building. You never see the plane. You never see it. If it's in the plane, why is the media not showing the plane? If you think about it,
Right.
we want to be sensitive to the family. Oh crap! Right. No, I don't be sensitive to anybody. It's a national event. It's a world event. Hate the family. I don't have a. Maybe I'm wrong to say that. I have nothing directly affected by it. I didn't lose anyone that day. At that event. Maybe I'm wrong to say that. But I just feel, we see this stuff in the movies all the time.
Right.
Blood and guts all the time. There are horror movies, private things that are more horrific than any crime scene.
Well, that's one of the crazy things about beyond that, right? That's another thing about the world we live in. How much horror do we desensitize ourselves to, or trauma do we? Well, how much trauma do we expose ourselves to all the time without thinking of it?
That's the thing. Is that we have no problem, whether we Freddy Krueger or the latest Scream film or Gallows.
Yeah.
Great. I never saw the film, but I've heard that that was a good film. Gallows, by the
I heard that. I didn't see that.
by the kid here in Fresno.
For sure.
Both.
Yeah, I've given up on horror movies.
Yeah, I'm not a horror movie person myself, but I mean, Bravo, those Wes Craven and whatnot, Rodriguez or whomever that creates these horror movies. But what I'm getting at is, to your point, we are desensitized. We have no problem going to the theater to see these horrific films, blood and guts everywhere. I've heard that the new Rambo film has a ton of blood and guts.
Right.
Every Mexican getting his head chopped off or something, such, and blood everywhere. Okay, so that's okay. We can go see the movie. So blood and guts flying all over the place. But if it's real life, we don't want to show that. So the local news, the national news, will stop the video just before the person is injured or just before the person is killed. Or the plane, it's the people, it's the plane. They'll stop the video at the exact frame just before it crashes into the earth. I'm like, we're not seeing anyone, we're not seeing any body parts, we're not seeing any blood that's going to join in the next frame. And yet, we want to be sensitive to the family. We're not seeing anything. It's just a plane crashing into the earth.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, media, be honest with us. Show us the video. We can handle it. We can go to horror movies.
Well,
We can handle horror movies. But that's great.
Well, the real funny thing is, you assume the media has any interest in being honest.
That was my first mistake. Is media honesty.
And
They're like opposite ends of they're like polar opposites. They don't go together.
it's just, for as long as the American media has existed, for as long as media, I think, has existed,
Mm-hmm.
there's been a question of, does the person portraying this information have a real interest in being honest? Which I think is a healthy and useful way to look at all the media we read. But it's especially true in today's day and age when it comes to news media, right? Now more than ever, there's a vested interest in controlling the narrative,
Right.
right? And the media they'll even tell you things like, it's a constant thing with a lot of the race hoaxes that have been happening. Like, oh, well, this one was false, but it gets to a deeper truth. The narrative was right. America is a racist country. Like, but Jesse Smollett wasn't actually attacked by two random white guys in the middle of
the news. That always got me, the news.
Yes.
I knew right then when they talked about the news, I knew he was lying right then.
Well, it's not
the
just
news gave it away.
The news gave it away?
In my opinion, the news gave it away.
You know what?
A black man is not going to walk around town with a news thing around it.
Oh, that they kept it on.
He returned to
Right.
He returned to the
Well, the thing that got me about it was the where and the when. What was it? So it's the middle of downtown Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
During
3 in the morning.
3 in the morning, in the middle of like
a 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Hot dog.
No, he went to somebody at Subway.
Subway.
But in the middle of a winter polar vortex, like one of the coldest days of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
We're to my knowledge, Chicago isn't a very white town.
No,
right?
It's not like that.
So, the whole idea that there would be two white guys there would say this is MAGA country.
Yeah.
In the middle of downtown Chicago, wearing MAGA hats, in the middle of a storm.
No.
It's so absurd. That was just like, no.
It was absurd.
Just no.
All of it was absurd.
Right.
Bizarre.
Right.
We know now we're doing it because we want to get higher pay.
Right.
On Empire.
Fox, yeah. Or a show, whatever.
They said, you're gone.
But the real funny thing that gets me about all of that is no one, the corrections on that were never nearly as loud as America's racist. And
they never are.
And to this day, he's still trying to claim that he's
still trying to
innocent.
think it's a real story.
There was some girl who got, who was supposedly a victim of a hate crime. Supposedly some kids cut off one of her dreadlocks. Turns out it didn't actually happen.
No, she admitted to it.
Right.
a week later.
Right.
Yeah.
But the real funny thing is, Jesse's mad that people are comparing him to her, and I'm like, Jesse, you did the same exact thing,
Yeah, same.
only much bigger, and you paid people to lie about
The
it.
only difference, biggest difference, this is Justin, he's a big name star.
Right.
This girl is the nobody.
Right.
She wanted to copy Justin. Apparently, I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know.
Right.
I can't speak, exactly.
Who knows why she did it? She could have,
She made up the story, same thing that Justin did. So yeah, I mean, the comparisons are happening.
And the difference is, like, I actually have some grades for, like, people, high school students. Like,
No,
I've worked with teenagers make up stories for all kinds of reasons.
And she, and again, like Justin, it does sound plausible.
Right. And the
It
difference
does
is,
sound
though,
possible. It does sound like it could happen.
Does
She didn't make. Well, I mean, what I'm saying is that we want to believe these things are happening because we want to believe that people are always on the truth. And we don't want to believe that people are lying. We want to believe that people are always on. The truth of the matter, obviously, the real truth is that people lie more than they're honest. I mean, I try to be as honest as I can all the time. I know that's lying on occasion. I'm guilty. Yeah, I'm not going to deny it.
I don't know if people lie more than they're honest, though. Like,
You think it's the reverse? You think they're more honest than
I honestly don't know. I think it obviously depends on the person, but maybe since I'm an optimist, I want to have a hopeful view that people tend to tell more truth than they do lies.
We'll set you free.
I don't know. I mean, I'm really I describe myself as a realist
Yeah, no, absolutely, really.
whose worldview forces me to be an optimist
Mm-hmm.
because I believe Jesus wins at the end. So if I
Fair
think
enough.
there's a God who's going to make everything right at the end, I can't walk around hopeless.
No, I get you.
If I have religion,
I think perfect sense.
But I think at the end of the day, I think people tend to be more real. People tend to be more honest. But then again, I also know a lot of people just don't even. People can't even be honest with themselves. So maybe you're right. People do lie more often than they.
Well, what it always comes back to is, earlier we were talking about the whole dynamic of, the binary.
Right.
Now, I've always thought the world operates on binary. Whether it be computers or anything else, there are two. Now, that may sound crazy a little bit, but I think there's two viewpoints. I mean, there's a second of me. There's the one you see and the one you don't see. And by that I mean the yin and yang, the unseen person, the unseen copy of that person, if you will.
Okay.
And I'd like to get into another topic I love.
No,
it
sounds like
parallel dimensions, alternate dimensions, what
Okay.
have you. Maybe go into there. Physics. Not like physics, like metaphysics, I guess it's more or less.
Right.
What I'm getting at is the binary and how it plays in. There's good and bad, and there has to be a default setting. And which setting is default? Is good default or is bad default? So I really lean towards believing that unfortunately evil or bad is the default setting, and we have to flip the switch to get the good. So positive.
Let me share with that. As you're explaining that particular worldview, it's a lot more Christian than you realize.
I have no doubt it is. Because again, religion, as much as I'm not a big fan of religion,
Right.
I know that it has a lot of characteristics in reality.
Yeah.
Religion ties into reality in many ways, and leaving out the characters in religion, just the overall theme of religion. Yeah, they all. I mean, all religions, worldwide, they all tie in together at some point. I mean, because they all believe similar things. I mean, I don't know, maybe not all of them.
Not true at all.
Okay, not all of them, fine. But many of them.
But many,
I would say many of them have similar, Judaism and Christianity have similar structures in terms of good and bad. Not leave out the characters. Leave out the characters.
No.
The overall themes have a lot in common.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So as far as the big world religions, considering that
The big religions, yeah.
considering the majority of the world probably falls into one of the Abrahamic religions or
Yeah.
or Buddhism. All the Abrahamic religions do follow a lot of the same similar things. I'll give you that. Um, but what you're saying specifically about good and evil, it's funny because man, like humans, I would agree with you. Humans do have a typical default setting, in that based on my worldview,
Yeah.
we all follow Adam. Adam was the first man. He sinned. We all follow that same lineage. We're all born in that same. I mean, even some translations. Yeah, we're made in his image or his likeness. A lot of translations say, "Oh, Adam bore a son in his likeness," right? So we are all born with that same kind of default, broken, rebellious, sinful nature. So I think that's true. But to your point about there being two, I think you've missed something about the yin and the yang.
Sure.
It's still one. So
Okay.
so
How
yes,
so?
there's the light and the dark,
Yeah.
but it's one thing. It's still one coin.
One point, so two sides of the same coin.
It's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, if you want to go there. Okay.
It's two halves of one whole. It's two parts of one
Right.
being.
Exactly. You can't have yin plus yang, vice versa.
Mhm.
Because, again, it does that. I love this topic because it does all tie together. Yeah, it's true. It is one. It is two that are of one. That's true. Like, that's where we can go off on on our country's motto. Out of one many. When we put with unity. Our Latin motto was replaced by the Motto Trust in '54, but it's still, on current. That's not a current. Well, it's not. Well, it's on a liminal deal. On that I, all in I there. But anyway, the old we put the out of one many. Out of 10. Out of many one. I got to reverse. Yeah, out of each third of two, out of many one. And so I mean, I think that comes back to the one.
Right.
Yeah. And then you get two from one, and you could give again that's the mean. So I mean, it's one of those head turns. It's one of those things that makes your head spin because it's hard to grasp. It's hard to really fully. It's hard for our human mind to fully grasp, this idea of two, but it's really one. But okay,
I think
go ahead.
I understand how it could be difficult to grasp, but I think when you look at it as we're one being, we're human beings, we're one person, and sure, you could say maybe we have a good side and a bad side.
Sure.
I would tend to say it's not that there's two separate sides to us, but there's the potential for both in us. Everyone has a potential for good. Everyone has a potential for bad.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that.
And so, I think it's too easy to simplify it and say, oh well, I'm. Because I think if you can do some damage to yourself, to your psyche, when you start walking around thinking there's two of me, and I don't think people intentionally do this, but having walked with people through some pretty crazy times in life where they're like, oh, I'm, how do I say this? You can fall into places where the more you see yourself as fractured, at some point you can live in such a way where you think, oh, well, I'm not the right me today. I'm just a broken portion of me.
Yeah, are you getting at the whole personality kind of thing?
I mean, some people take it that far.
Okay.
Like I've seen people do that,
Oh.
but I think it's even as simple as people giving themselves the excuse to
Excuses, sure.
the excuse to operate as less than they are. Right.
My person B is doing this me, not
Right.
me personally.
Right.
Thing.
I know. I mean, I've had times where I've used that excuse to a degree where it's like, oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't told myself that day.
Right. Like, oh, like earlier I was saying on my podcast, one of the things that I mentioned was I used to define myself as a sinner saved by God's grace. The problem with that definition is that the first definition means a sinner. So anytime I screwed up, anytime I sinned, anytime I did something wrong, well, I'm just a sinner saved by God's grace, but I'm just a sinner. So
if that's the default setting.
I think sinner is actually the default setting for human beings.
Negative, evil.
Right. I think by definition, human beings are set on that default.
Okay.
I don't think that
to everyone equally.
Well,
that's the thing. Is that all humans equally built that way? Or?
Well, I think every human being starts. Because that does get tricky. Like, do I look at my kids who are the sweetest things in the world and go, man, these beings are just default sinners. They're the worst. And I'm like, oh, my kids are great. They're sweet and kind and good. Yeah. Well, at least the boy is. I don't know. The girl hasn't said anything yet, so who knows what she's thinking in there. But you're right. So there is a gray area. But I think as a default, human beings are from that same vein broken in line with Adam.
Okay.
And so I think by nature, they are prone to rebel, or prone to sinfulness, or prone to brokenness in certain ways that I think can be fixed or redeemed, for lack of a better term, by Jesus. I think people would disagree with the religious like lingo of that, but I think people who are capable of more. But I think if you want to talk about people I think if you look at the Bible, technically people who encountered Jesus, who are who were walking with God. First Corinthians, it says, anyone who is in Christ is a new creation, no one's wrong has come. I think for them, Jesus calls himself the new Adam. So their new Adam, their new default should be Jesus. So that's why for me, like the idea that I used to call myself a sinner saved by grace, I don't get to do that if my default isn't Adam, but my default is now Jesus, right? Then if I'm in him and he's not a sinner, I don't get to claim, oh, well, I just did that because I'm just a sinner. It's like, well, no, I did that because I decided to set down what I've been called to and what I've been given the power to not do. And so I think, the way I look at the world, if I see somebody who I know for a fact is walking with God, I'm like, well, if they sinned, there's grace, but I can actually call them and expect them to be better, right? My wife, when she catches me doing something wrong, she can look at me and go, hey, not only have you said you're going to do better because you said you're following Christ, I believe you actually have a responsibility to do better because of the way we see the world, the way that, I know that you walk with the God of the universe, right? But if I'm talking to somebody who's like, yeah, I don't walk with that God, I don't believe in that God, then I'm like, okay, well, hey, I think you're capable of better, but I'm not going to be mad if you don't operate in better because I don't think you, one, accepted the call to be better, but I also don't know that I know you have the ability to, but I don't know if you really have the ability to on your own. So yeah, it's like I look at the world we live in, I look at the media, I look at the people who are controlling these things. A lot of them don't walk with God, so I'm not surprised if, hey, this person in the media decided to lie to me. Well, okay, so a human being whose default setting is to sin did something sinful. Why am I surprised by that?
No, actually, fair enough. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty deep. That's the makes you think, and that's what we're here for, to help you think. I don't know. We're not helping you. I don't know if we can help anybody think, but
we can at least challenge you to think or give you something to think about.
No, that's the word. I'm not looking for. Yes, we encourage. We encourage thought.
Yeah.
Encourage the ability to question what is happening.
Yeah. So I think as far as the worldview, I think human beings' default is probably darkness, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, would that be connected to the Satan, the devil, the whole thing, or do you think it's not really, or do you think it's maybe part of it? What are your considerations in that?
I think there's a connection.
Okay. I mean, it's the whole Satan falling from heaven thing.
So-
They battling back.
Okay, so the way
God versus Satan.
I think the way I would come to understand that weird connection is that, and why don't I just go back to Genesis? God gave man dominion over the earth,
Right.
and He made him, and God made human beings in His likeness and His image.
Right. I mean,
So the first fall, the first world problem was that mankind forgot what they were, because the temptation to eat the fruit wasn't just the knowledge of the fruit,
No.
right? A lot of people think it was the knowledge of the apple.
Right.
The real problem was the snake convinced Eve that she could be like God if she bit into this fruit, whatever it was.
Who was the snake?
Satan,
Yeah, yeah, right.
right?
Yeah, right.
So
right.
Satan was the snake, right?
Yeah. That
Um,
was him for fun.
so him personified. But the thing is, she took this fruit to be like God when she was already made in the image and likeness of God. So she forgot who she was and believed the lie.
Yeah.
And I think
Right.
that's one of the reasons why Satan's called the father of lies, right? And I think part of the thing is human beings, when we believe lies about ourselves, right? That's going back to the idea of who do you think you are. When we believe lies about ourselves, we settle for less than what we're actually capable of, right?
That's fair enough.
So when we and that's applicable to everyone, regardless if you're Christian or not. If you don't understand yourself properly,
Uh-huh.
you can't live properly, right? If you think oh man, there's a horrible story of some poor girl whose mom convinced her she was sick from birth, and was like unable. They made a huge Netflix series about it that was really dark,
And
right?
there's a recent story similar
Yeah.
to that of a boy who was, his mother put him through surgery,
Right,
and because she, wanted to get the money from, claiming that he was ill and he wasn't.
right.
She put him through surgery, unnecessary surgery.
Mhm.
Intervention did not make it.
Right. But the whole thing is though, like that poor girl, like she lived a number of years capable of walking, but because she believed a lie,
Yeah.
she took pills that kept her from walking,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But we do that. We do stuff like that to ourselves all the time. Like, how many people do you know settle for? Like, for example, one thing that I probably have settled far too much for in recent history is being overweight. Right? I go, my family's all large. We're just large people. No matter what I do, we're just going to be large. Well, that's not entirely true. I could change my diet, right? I could.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that is doable, but it has to be done in the mind as well as
Right.
physically.
Right. Like I could give up Taco Bell, and I could give up,
But yeah, I mean,
I'm probably not gonna give up Taco Bell.
If your doctor told you must change your diet, you must change your ways, or you will be dead in a week, would you be willing to change your ways?
Right.
Would you be willing to do what the doctor
Well,
suggests you do?
well, the crazy thing about that is, sure, most doctors will tell you you're gonna be dead in a week, but you're probably not gonna be dead in a week.
No,
But-
and
but most
that
of us
means
in America, our doctors would say, hey, if you don't change your ways, instead of living to,
whatever.
90, you're probably gonna live to about 65, 70.
Yeah. And
You know what I mean?
live to 85, 90. if you
Right.
Change your way.
So, kind of again, I think human beings believe a lie, and when we believe the lies about ourselves, we don't live right. We don't live in such a way that we can thrive and be the best us, and be the best with our neighbors and for the world around us.
Right.
So I think going back to the question about Satan, I think the initial thing is that humankind, believed the lie, and in doing so, we gave our dominion, our authority to rule over the world to Satan, because we chose to follow a master other than God. Right? And whether you believe it or not, you could see how that works. Basically, hey, you have the power to rule over the world, but then you believe the lie, and so instead of living rightly in the world, you gave your ability over to lies and falseness and wrongness, and in doing so, doomed everyone else to follow lies and falseness and wrongness, because that's where the head of the family, that's where the human being started from.
Yeah.
And so I think I don't think it's fair for anyone to say, oh, the devil made me do it, because he doesn't make anyone do anything. But what he is really good about is causing you to doubt, offering up lies, or even just offering up suggestions to get you to make up your own lie to believe, right? Like,
Right.
because he didn't even lie to Eve. He said,
No.
"Did God really say that you can't do that?
Mhm.
Or did God really say that you'll surely die?" You know, and it's that quick bit of doubt, that quick bit of maybe I should question what is true. Um, that I think causes the downfall of people, and not only people, society. It's like, I think when you look at where America's at right now, where so many of our problems are because we've forgotten what is true, and we've settled for what can only be classified as a lie,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, man, it's a touchy subject,
It is,
but
let's yeah.
the idea that men and women are different, right?
That's a given. That's a given.
It's a given,
Although,
but in the world we live in, it's almost taboo to say because we believe the lie that men and women are the same, but they're not.
No.
Men are not women,
No.
and that shouldn't be controversial. That shouldn't be controversial,
No, it should not.
but it is
No, it should not.
because we believe lies.
I'm not a woman. I'm a man through and through, man.
Yeah, so being a man means I'm not a woman, and being a woman means that you're not a man, and that means that being a woman means you can do things that men
Yeah,
can't.
and vice versa. I mean, and that's just, whether you like it or not, that's the limitation.
Mhm.
And that's natural, that's biology, that's science.
Right.
Now, I can go off on saying, these same people who will say climate change is all about science, climate change is science fact, will be the very first one to say, well, no, there are more than two genders, that's not science. But it is science. It's the same science they believe in for climate change. It's the same science that it is biology.
Yeah.
Saying there are only two genders.
Right.
I mean, you can't have one science and not the other. Because I mean, a lot of climate deniers or the climate change believers,
Right.
will say science is fact. If you don't have to believe it, it is just what it is. Well, that's true of biology. It's another science. It's science fact. You don't have to believe it's true. It's just true.
Mhm.
It will just be climate change people. They won't get the connection there. I'm dumbfounded by their lack of honesty in that realm. But again, that's
Yeah.
that's me.
Well, so one of the things that's crazy about that, even the science behind climate change,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So part of the problem is that we live in a world that the science. Science. I'm trying to find the right words to say it. Science isn't even doing. Science isn't even doing what science is supposed to do. Right.
No, I hear you.
So a recent example, there's this guy, Dr. Shiva, who's been looking into vaccines
Oh yeah.
and their safety and efficacy. Efficacy. Sure.
That's the word.
So how safe they are and how effective they are.
That's the word.
But one of the things he pointed out is that he comes from a biomedical engineering background. He's got a PhD, right? So he's a doctor technically. But he points out that they bring him in on engineering projects for medical stuff, and they want to test how safe it is, how does it work, where would it break, what are the stress points, all that. And no one's done any of that testing for vaccines. So he's like, well, there should be, double-blind placebo studies for any drugs before they go out. But we don't have those for vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
So for like 30 of the most common vaccines, we just don't have that data.
Right.
But everyone still says it's safe and effective. Now, I'm not saying don't vaccinate your kids. If you're vaccinated, your wife had arguments about that. That's okay.
We'll leave it up to you. That's your choice.
Yeah, I think there is a good place for vaccines.
Okay.
But I think my big question is, if we're going to say this medicine is safe for kids, we really should have that data.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we would expect it out of any other kind of medication. It's absurd that we don't have it with those. And on top of that, we don't have any data testing the dangers of giving multiple vaccines at the same time, right?
Right. No, absolutely. I actually, referring to, there's a movie that by Mercola. And I have not watched it. It's an hour and a half long. I have not watched it yet. But it's about how vaccines, I can tell it here. I can't really link up right now. But at least it's a great movie, and it was made several years ago. But Dr. Mercola, he clearly he used very scientific evidence to show that vaccines, specifically MMR, measles rubella vaccine, is not trustworthy. It has been proven to be not. His evidence proved it is not trustworthy. Now he did say maybe get individual shots, which kind of contradicted himself, but it's questionable. You got to look at these vaccines. The material that's in them, the chemicals that are in them, the mercury that is in these vaccines. The various how these vaccines are made.
Right.
Too many kids have been harmfully killed by these vaccines. I mean, now, it is questionable whether the vaccine causes autism. I mean, if a kid had autism before he had the vaccine, it's hard to say. So I'm not going to go there. But it's still. If I had kids, I don't have kids of my own, but if I had kids, I surely wouldn't give them vaccines. I would not do it. That's personal. I would not do it.
Right. Well,
I just don't trust it.
So my whole point of that is, if we're going to say we're going to trust the science, well, there's a scientific process that should be followed to get actual scientific data.
Absolutely.
The problem is we're using science in a way that it wasn't meant to be used when it comes to planning the world. We don't have the actual data on a lot of the vaccines that you would need to make the judgment calls on, is this drug safe?
Exactly.
And the same thing with climate. Even the scientific models that they use to project, saying, if we don't do something dramatic in the next 12 years, we may not be able to reverse anything. The problem is, one, we don't have enough data, and there's so many variables that you can't make an accurate representation of what the world is going to be like 100 years from now. Based on a chart with more than 3 variables. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm getting error on the page I'm trying to pull up my house.
No, it's all good.
Exactly. That's completely.
I mean, we can't even predict the weather at the end of the week, let alone the end of the month. So it's absurd to say, you know what? I know for a fact that the weather in 100 years is going to be so bad that the world's going to be flooded. Like sea levels are going to rise so many feet.
Which has been proven not to happen.
Right. Well, not only that, if it was at all plausibly real, the way in which people invest would change.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm leaving now.
Okay.
So,
No worries. I'll talk to you again soon.
okay, cool.
Okay, good
Yeah.
night. Right. See you later. My friends to leave.
So-
good night.
Back to what I was saying, like the way we invest would be different, right? You wouldn't build anything on the coast if you knew that in the next 20 years the sea levels are going to rise, several feet. But people are still investing in Miami, right? People are still investing in LA and San Francisco, and all these coastal cities.
And those who build on a coast or on a what's the word for it? My brain's going.
It's all good.
I'm fit. That's what I'm for fit. And then they complain, well, the cliff is eroding. Well,
Right.
That's natural erosion. The earth does erode. I mean, it does.
Right.
It doesn't cycle. That's all it is. Climate change is a cycle. We have the earth has hot periods, it has cold periods. It's like a woman. It's variable.
Right.
Okay, I maybe I shouldn't have said that, but whatever.
It's all good. It's not wrong. But what's funny is, even to that, we were in a cooling period not too long ago where we were afraid we were going to enter a new ice age.
I mean, in the 70s, in the 60s, there were magazine covers saying, a new ice age is coming.
Right.
Well, what happened to the ice age? Oh my gosh, it never arrived. Wow. Because again, Earth is in a cycle of being climate change, and people will say it didn't arrive because our automobiles, our gas fuels are creating a heat. The climate change, the global warming, the carbon dioxide is infiltrated the whole ozone. And
Oh, that hole closed itself up, by the way.
Yeah.
I remember that was a huge.
Sorry, didn't mean
I did a report on that as a
Yeah.
student. I think
The whole
fifth or sixth grade.
the whole ozone.
Yeah.
So the heat rays, the sun. Again, not realizing that's the sun. It's part of the system.
Right.
It's part of the cycle.
Well, it's a huge part of the variable that we can't control.
no,
We can't control the sun.
We cannot
We
control.
can't control the rotation of the Earth,
We
right?
cannot.
You know, the axis is actually flipped it's several times
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah.
Earth's history.
Magnetic field
And
and why?
That's changed temperatures worldwide.
That's
but-
natural.
But that's one of those things that we're afraid that the small part we're doing,
Mhm.
CO2, is going to.
It's practically nil
Well, no, yeah,
compared to the overall what the Earth, naturally.
right. Well, not only that. If you think about it, CO2 is what plants breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
If we-
create
If
oxygen.
we increase CO2 in the air,
Mhm.
that should increase plant life.
Yeah, what is the greenhouse? What is the greenhouse?
Right. Because, and on the flip side, when you get a lot of plants, you get an earth with a higher oxygen
Oh,
level.
because then they think people will always be complaining about the Amazon, or burning the Amazon, or destroying the lungs of the earth.
Right.
All the Amazon, which it is, but anyway. It's natural to use the plants, to repopulate the plants, then they'll grow back. They, in turn, help us, humans, we help them. We're not going to destroy this planet, people. We humans are minuscule in terms of the size and scope. There's 7 billion of us, 7 point something billion of us. And even if there was 20 billion of us, we could not destroy this planet.
Right.
It's not feasible.
Well, yeah.
We're not God. Again, I'm an agnostic. This is an agnostic talking. I know we are not that powerful.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Humans, like, if in some crazy world we did overheat the planet somehow, I guarantee you, life would still go on. Things would adapt and change.
Absolutely.
I mean, if life survived multiple ice ages and heating periods before, the planet wouldn't do it again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But-
But adaptation.
Yeah, all that to say, I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't take care of our planet. I'm not saying we shouldn't. make less polluting-
Is vital to humans.
Right. We should make less polluting things. We should clean up our oceans. We should protect the fish. Like, you know.
I'm not saying that we purposely destroy the planet. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we don't need these country regulations, these untoward excuses to save the planet.
Right.
We don't need to make extra effort. We just do what's natural.
Right.
To put your trash in a trash bin and put it in this. These locations that are set aside for trash. It will decompose over time. The earth will use it, and we'll be okay.
Right. All that goes back to the point. So we guys can wrap it up pretty soon.
Yeah,
Like
An hour and a half, yeah.
the idea that if you believe a lie,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you believe that human beings are going to destroy the planet due to the amount of CO2 you produce,
Oh, right.
it will cause you to do some pretty bad, dramatic things. What's funny is that particular lie, I don't think people actually believe. Because if they did, right, if you really believe that we were going to do irrevocable damage to our planet if we don't stop using CO2 in the next 12 years, you wouldn't get on another plane, right?
Right.
You wouldn't, you wouldn't drive a car, right? Especially if you had the money to do so. You know what I mean? Like, show me any celebrity who couldn't find a way to live in whatever city they wanted to and not drive a car. Of course they could, right?
Yeah.
They could, any celebrity, if they wanted to, they'd say, no, we're never flying again. Sell my private jet. Actually, don't sell it. Dismantle it because I don't want anyone else to to use it.
Tell it to Prince Harry, please.
Right. And you know what? I'm not going to get a car, but I'm gonna hire a guy to go to the grocery store on a bike and get all of my groceries, locally sourced. And they could do that, but they don't, and they don't do it for the same reason the banks still invest in places that would, for sure, get ran over by water if the climate was going to change dramatically and water levels were going to rise in the next couple of years. It's all good, but that's because people don't actually believe that lie. Although some people do, it causes people to. It's the cows. But it causes some pretty dramatic things. Like, one of the things that scares me about our future is you have poor girls like this girl Greta,
Oh,
right?
They're the fun, but
And, you know, like I honestly feel bad for the girl because,
yeah, well, she has autism.
well, not just that. The thing that gets me is that if what she's saying she fully believes that they have destroyed her dreams
I don't know.
because of global warming, like how sad of a life is that to think that the generation before you completely destroyed your chance at a future? Like the fact that there are people who are contemplating not having kids because they think the world's going to end in a
Exactly.
few years because of global warming
Yes.
is sad and crazy. Like, you know, like people stopped having kids and thought, oh no, Y2K, it's gonna be the end of the world, right?
Y2K, that was so much fun.
And that year made a lot of people do some crazy, stupid stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, my own father, he was a believer in Y2K. It would crash the computers, it would crash the economy.
Mhm.
And, you know, now, briefly on Y2K, yeah, we did stock up on some, you know, minor food, you know, like rice, you know, the basics. We did stock up a bit, thinking that might be wise to do so. What my thinking on that is that, yeah, actually Y2K did happen, but it was avoided because we talked about it, because we prepared for it, because we told it, because, not told, I mean, because we insisted that it not happen the way it could have happened. So we did prepare for it. We did change the software on computers. We did fix the code. We did do all those things that needed to be done so that the funds were not crashed, so that the computers were not destroyed or civilization. So did it happen? Yes. But it
Well,
prevented from happening.
yes
What
and
I'm
no.
saying is that, okay, I guess what I'm saying, that did not happen, but we stopped it from happening.
Right. I think the difference is people actually thought the world, like not just that all the systems were going
We
down.
would have, had we not discussed it, had we not actually taken action to prevent it from happening, had we not gone through the code and changed the code, then all of the things that need to be changed and prevented it from happening. Now, I remember hearing a story like in Switzerland or overseas, some trains down to a halt at midnight multiple times because their things were crashed.
No.
But here in America, nothing big happened at the Crooked Midnight. I didn't know where I was on that evening. You know, I was in Oakland actually at my grandparents' home, celebrating New Year's there with my family up in Oakland at the time. And at the Crooked Midnight, the lights stayed on, TV stayed on. You know, the ball fell in New York. Well, 3 hours later, obviously, but
Right.
which is kind of different and all that. But the point is that nothing major happened here in America. And I do believe it was because we talked about it for years in advance.
That's all right.
Because we didn't just talk about it, but we said, well, this needs to be done, and let's get it done.
Right.
And so because we acted upon our fear of the economy falling apart, the nation falling apart, because things would stop, you know, civilization from change, we prevented civilization from being changed in how we understand civilization.
Okay. And I think, I think if it ever comes to the point where sea levels do start to rise and the temperatures do get too hot, we'll adapt again.
Oh, yeah,
We'll make
even
new
to that.
systems, we'll move, people will leave the coast
Yeah,
and they'll move
and
inland.
the humans are, what is it, several thousand plus years old, or 3,000. We always adapt.
Right.
Whether it be the caveman or recent humans, we have always adapted to our current situation, whatever the situation is in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's not just human, that's nature. We're part of nature.
Yeah.
We humans, the building is part of nature. It's man-made, sure, but it's using materials that were found in nature, essentially.
Yeah.
Sort of change their round to change their chemical compositions, their molecular compositions. But essentially, everything we see comes from the earth.
Yeah.
At some point, it did. It started as a product of the earth. We just changed it to our needs.
Yeah.
Then what I'm looking at here, concrete, paint, it's all earth-based, but it's just changed into a form where we can utilize it for heavy purposes.
Yeah.
So I mean, all those who say that we're not living in nature in the city, the city is a form of nature. City life, it may not be the nature of, mountains and streams and big tall trees.
Yeah.
But it's still a form of nature.
That's a tricky thing for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's how I view. I view
Yeah.
the city as a form of nature.
I mean, I see what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
I still think,
There's
There's something-
Natural.
well, there's something about
Different.
city living that I don't think is natural to human beings
Okay.
in the way we currently have it. So I do think human beings were made to make cities.
Yeah. Mhm.
I just think there are better ways to make cities than what we currently do.
Sure.
And there are things about the way in which we operate in cities that I think strip human beings of things that are essentially human and make them go crazy. Hear me out. There's a study somebody did on rats. So it's pretty great. They put rats in a city and they give the rats all the food they need. I think it was 3 generations in, the
Okay.
rats literally destroyed themselves. I gotta pull it up.
Sure. We'll just put that in our show notes.
Rats will show notes, but basically rats. So it affected rats in a way where they really were so crazy. And I think you can see some of that same behavior happening in people in cities where, to a lesser degree, but I think people were made to know, like, we should actually be a little bit more connected to the food we eat. We should be more connected
I
to
hear you on that.
our neighbors. We should know our neighbors. We should.
I have to admit, I don't know my neighbors. I mean, they're just right down the street there. I know maybe one of them by name, and that's all. Yeah, we don't know them well enough to say, hey, come on over, a week or whatever. We kind of wish we did. There'd probably be people ahead of us, but I don't know. So yeah, it's true.
Right.
We don't know our neighbors well enough.
So I'm not sure which one is the best one to look at,
Okay.
but I think there's a mouse utopia experiment.
Now we can focus.
Um, So I know Joe Rogan did a talk on it. I know there's this one called The Day I Found Out. He has a talk on it. Yeah.
I like watching these videos.
But-
I keep saying James, the Simon with
Yeah.
the British guy. He does some good videos. I've watched many of them.
Right. So there's a couple of ones, but basically, putting enough rats on top of each other in the city doesn't work for them. I think putting enough human beings in a small space doesn't work for human beings. That's why I think you find depression a little bit higher in cities than outside of cities, right?
And crime.
And crime.
In general, yeah.
Right.
In Chicago.
Right. So I'm not saying people shouldn't live in cities, but the way we live in cities,
Yeah, I'm not saying everyone, I'm not saying everyone will succumb to crime. No, that's
Right.
not like a statement there. I'm just saying that there's more trouble.
Mhm. And I think it's part of the nature of
Because
cities.
humans want to be free. Humans want
Right.
to be able to operate, at their whim and not be so. I guess it's just a closed space.
Right.
I did it in several cities. I lived in Nashville, I lived in Starbucks, I lived in Livermore. I just can't take it. I can't take city life.
It's even, I mean, even
Not fun.
even down to sunlight. The human body needs sunlight.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
sometimes, yeah. Right.
But you can, in large enough cities, you can go days without getting any sunlight,
Sad, but true.
right?
I mean, if you go to states like New York, for example, I've never lived in New York, I've never been in New York.
You don't even have to
I
go to
fully
New York.
understand, you can get down the subway. And
Right.
That's all underground.
Yeah.
I guess parts of the subway are above ground, but.
Right. But you could go days without getting the sun there. Like, you can do that in Fresno, you know? Yeah, you can do it in Fresno. I know people who work in the AT&T building.
Oh.
And that building is like a dungeon once you're inside. There's no windows.
Essentially it is, yeah.
So if you work in there in the basement, let's say you go in early
Yeah.
one day before dawn, right? And you come out late after dawn, you come after dark.
10-hour day, whatever.
Right. And you could live like miss a whole week of sunlight, you know?
Good. It's possible. It is possible. Yeah.
So I think there's things about city life that we haven't, and we're people are starting to. We're starting to add more green areas, starting to add more space. But I think city life is one of those things where it's like, oh, yes, people can live in cities, people should live in cities, but we really should think through our cities being places for human beings to live rather than just stacks of buildings to cram as many people in.
Right,
as
right,
possible.
right.
Anyways, it is super
It
late.
is super late. It is, oh wow, 35 hours, and we've got over an hour and a half on this recording. Because, well, we can. But
Why not?
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here. I think I'll play a tune to take us out. I found this online. It's a copyright-free piece of audio. It's titled "Good for You."
Cool.
So I figured, what's better than listening to some good for you music. I haven't actually listened to this yet. I don't know how it sounds, but I'm assuming it sounds good. And, well, thank you all for listening. This is the John and Will Show, episode 2, and we'll post show notes with our show name later on.
Yep.
So until next time, y'all have a wonderful evening, and here's good for you. Okay, we're out. Let me check the audio. Goes on, and